has there been some explicit conversations here about expectations, or are these implicit? Or are you assuming what their expectations are of you without actually knowing? You know that.
I think there is that though. But that's why I said it at the start. Like, I paid my dues to my parents. Now it's going to be my turn. I'm going to case of like making them feel guilty to then be like, okay, fine, we'll move. I think it's just about expressing it in a way where it's like it is taking its toll, but that part is for us to figure out.
Welcome back, guys, for part 2 of this week's The Therapy Floor. If you missed our first session, first dilemma, go back and check it out.
I thought you were going to tell them what it was about.
I am about to tell them what it's about. What it's about is...
It's like, I'm not telling you, just go watch it.
Yeah. We had a really good dilemma about motherhood, and someone really struggling with, the fear of, am I going to be a good mother? Because at times I feel selfish and I worry that that will not make me a good mum, essentially. So yeah, check that out if you're interested in that. I think a lot of people can resonate with that.
For sure.
So let's move on to our next dilemma. So this comes from a male in his early 40s, and he says, I'm struggling with a significant decision regarding my aging parents. My parents, who are both in their late 70s, have been experiencing declining health and increasingly need assistance with daily activities. They've refused to consider moving to an assisted living facility, insisting on staying in their home, which is filled with memories and comfort for them. However, managing their care has become overwhelming for me, both emotionally and physically. I visit them daily, manage their medical appointments, and handle their household chores, which is starting to take a toll on my own family life and mental health. I'm torn between respecting their wishes to remain at home and my growing concern for their well-being and my own capacity to provide the necessary care. How can I navigate this challenging situation and make a decision that respects my parents' desires while also addressing the practical realities of their care needs and my own well-being? What steps can I take to find a balanced solution that ensures their safety and my ability to maintain my responsibilities and health?
That's a heavy one.
It is a heavy one. Huge responsibility. I wonder if this is a responsibility that is actually his. Is it? I've got to admit that I'm not so well versed on care, like stay-at-home care, and at what point as a relative can you intervene and have, like, what's the word? Not parental rights, but, you know.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Right? I don't know what the... Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, at what point, I don't know at what point you can step in to actually make a decision on their behalf.
Yeah.
Or whether this is just more about
it's like capacity, isn't it?
Capacity.
Yeah.
Or whether this is more about your decision about what you do, like how much you continue to help, maybe.
It sounds like that.
Yeah. Okay.
As you were reading all that, this man has obviously told us like that he's male and in his 40s, but actually we don't really get much context else outside of that. And also, even if he was in my therapy room, I wouldn't assume either. I would be thinking, like, if he was bringing this to me about culture, about generations, around his grandparents and his parents' relationship that he can remember, if this, I don't know, I'm assuming
with their parents,
and what the expectations were for them. And I just wonder if there's something happening here where expectation is almost like being passed down through the generations, with culture possibly involved, of I had to do this for my parents, so I would expect you to do the same for me. And there could be multiple scenarios around that. One of the things I'd also be wondering is if culture was also playing a part in this. do his parents already feel like they've made a sacrifice? In the sense where, was there an expectation that they would move in with him or they would live together and they would take care of him? So is there this like, well, actually we're living in 2 separate homes, and so, you know, we're letting you have your space, but you still need to come and help us. So I'd be having a lot of these, I'd be wanting to know a lot here. I'd be kind of wanting to go for the details of what is actually being set up in your family. What are these expectations and responsibilities being put on you? Where have they come from? When did you start to push them back? How was that received when you started to put boundaries down?
Or the expectations, I think even before that, I'd be thinking, has there been some explicit conversations here about expectations, or are these implicit? Or are you assuming what their expectations are of you without actually knowing that that's the expectation they have of you? Because part of me was thinking about whether his parents are actually expecting him to do anything.
I was going to ask what would happen if you didn't show up one day.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they'd... well, no, I'm not sure. I can imagine that they would be perplexed, maybe even a bit annoyed, like, oh, it's a change in the routine. But I wonder also if they're aware of how this is impacting you. And if they were aware of it, whether they would just think, well, it's a given, it's what you do, it's what we do for family.
That's what I was getting about the generational piece.
Yeah. Or whether they're also thinking, gosh, we didn't know that we were having this impact on you. But it comes back to, for me, you have to communicate. We find it so hard, don't we? And I understand why. Honest communication is really hard, but some communication, some honest conversations have to be going on here, right? About what this means for them staying in their house, what it means for them not to have people come in and help and only accepting his help. What are their thoughts about aging and moving into this, being in this new stage in their life? Like, how do they feel about it? Do they have any fears?
I was going to say, I wonder if a huge part of loss is coming up, because he's written they've refused to consider moving to an assisted living facility, insisting on staying in their home, which is filled with memories and comfort.
Yeah.
So to give up safety, memories, comfort,
a life that you've built, which
it sounds like loss is going on,
which is totally understandable. I can get it.
And I wonder if part of you feeding into this is trying to protect them as well from, you know, not having too much pain and loss, and trying to make it as tolerable and as easy as it can be for them as possible without them moving into a home. But the flip side of that is there is a cost.
Yeah.
And the cost is, as you said, your mental health, your well-being, your family that you've built. What implications is it having with you, your partner, your children, if you have any?
Yeah. So you're thinking about loss, and on the flip side of that, or following on from that, I'm also thinking about acceptance. And acceptance that actually things are changing and things will continue to change for everyone, and how hard that can be to accept change. I mean, I don't know, like, if I'm blessed to see old age, I don't know how I will handle change and handle loss and accept that actually things can't continue as they are. They can't. And having to give up some kind of pseudo control over what life could look like, there will have to be some surrendering here and some giving up of some things, even if it is just what you feel, even if it's just your hopes.
But who's doing the giving up here? The parents or him?
I think everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone. This isn't like an isolated thing that's going on for his parents. Like, everyone is having to accept the loss. He'll also lose his childhood home if they do move. Or, you know, his parents will have to lose maybe their sense of pride and independence if they have someone come and help them, even if they stay in the house, but they just accept some help. There is an element of loss and also acceptance throughout all of this, which I think is really sad for me.
Yeah.
I'm feeling sad thinking about it.
I felt sad when you read it.
Yeah. I didn't until now.
Yeah, you had a different... When we just read it before,
Yeah.
you had quite a different reaction.
I was like, they're being stubborn. They're being stubborn. Because it just... This is where we have to get careful about our own experiences.
Our own stuff.
Our own stuff. But not just even that, but even our own experiences that we've had in just... I don't know, even a professional setting. I was just thinking about my own experience working in an older adults ward before I was a psychologist, before training, when I was doing healthcare assistant work, and my experience of working not with everyone on that ward, but with a majority of them, struggling with the tussle of control and being particular about things being a certain way, and maybe even stubborn if I want to be a bit judgmental here.
I think a
if
lot
I
of...
want to name it.
I feel like people would often maybe use that word to describe the quality
of
trying to be in control.
Yes.
Yeah, with that with the older adult population.
Yeah. But, you know, now thinking about it and thinking about, okay, putting myself in those shoes as well, and thinking, gosh, if I've lived a life, however great, not great, whatever it was, and I'd built so much for myself, and then I thought about, actually, I'm giving this up and I'm going to move somewhere that's unfamiliar. I'm going to have people looking after me when I've been independent my whole life, for the majority of my life. And I think about the memories, when I think about how is this going to impact even the relationship that I may have with my partner. There's so much loss and so much anticipatory grief about everything. Why wouldn't you want to hold on? Why wouldn't you want to be so steadfast about, I want to have some control? I can't control that I'm aging. I can't control that things are more difficult for me now and I'm not as able as I have been previously, but I want to be able to control something. I think I get it. I get it.
Yeah, so for me, like, building on that, and I also have professionally not worked in an older adult setting, so I'm not coming from this necessarily with having like
clinical
experience with that. But when I'm thinking of it from a perspective of lifespan development, which I do have experience in, I'm thinking about autonomy, and I'm thinking about the development of a baby all the way through till older adult and death, and the changes in autonomy. So going from being a heavily dependent being to early adulthood, being very autonomous, very much in control of your life and in control of decisions, hopefully, to then have that slowly slipping away from you. It's quite regressive.
Yeah.
Is that a word? Regressive. Yeah, it's quite regressive. It's like Benjamin Button's almost coming to mind to me a little bit. But you do lose control, don't you? You very much do regress back to a younger form where you aren't able to do the things for yourself and maybe make decisions and choices for yourself that when you get to that part in adulthood, when you really become an adult and you can really say that, like, I'm making these choices for me, that is very empowering, that place, when you can get to that.
Yeah.
And I think when that can slowly start to disintegrate, which I imagine it does as you age, that's a huge loss. And so that desire to cling, because it's quite confusing, isn't it? I'm getting older and therefore wiser, more experienced,
Yeah.
but somehow I'm not able to do as much.
Yeah.
Like, it's a huge contradiction.
It is, isn't it? It is.
And I don't know if you've ever had this, but I've had people say to me, like, when they're speaking about their parents, elderly parents, that they will be like, it's like having a baby again.
Yeah.
Like, it can be a lot of hard work. As much as I love it, it's a lot of hard work. And and so I do think that's a huge part of this for them, and also for you. Maybe like you've gradually stepped into this role without even realizing.
Yeah. I do want, so again, I think it's coming, for me, I'd really encourage you to think about having some really open conversations here, and not just closed conversations, but open, like just asking them, what does this mean for you? How do you feel about this? Because I am thinking also about the cultural element here and how different cultures experience this. I mean, some cultures, in my culture, which is a West African culture, it's kind of like what you do. Like you look after your parents, but also your parents think, yeah, my child will look after me. Like, I'm going to be okay. Almost not something that you necessarily look forward to, but you know that.
I think there is that though. But that's why I said it at the start. Like, I paid my dues to my parents. Now it's going to be my turn. I'm going to sit back.
But, you know,
it happens in my culture.
Yeah. So some people actually look forward to this. Whereas for some people, maybe like a more Western culture, it may feel like more of a loss.
Yeah.
And may feel more of like, oh gosh, yeah, like I am having to let go of that independence. Whereas in collectivist cultures, independence what?
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I think there's still a tussle and a struggle.
Oh, of course there is. Of course.
Yeah. Because it's more, I'm just laughing because I'm just thinking about, like, it becomes like almost like a dictatorship in a way, doesn't it? Like, I will do less, but I will order more from you. And I've earned my right to sit on this throne.
Yeah. But yeah, gaining some clarity on what this means for them, and do they have any ideas on how there could be some compromise, or how there could be some a way forward. And how can you all help each other in this process?
Yeah. And in terms of it taking a toll on your family, what I want to kind of add in here is that's not your parents' responsibility then, okay? So the toll it's taking on you and your family, that's a conversation between you and your family. Yes, you can maybe express to your parents, like, it is hard, and I don't get to see my kids or my partner as much. But I wouldn't come from that of a place of like making them feel guilty to then be like, okay, fine, we'll move. I think it's just about expressing it in a way where it's like it is taking its toll, but that part is for us to figure out. But I just want you to know. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah. You don't want to put it on them. You don't want to blame them.
Yeah, the blame part. That's
But maybe it's a bit of a difficult balance. But how can you have a frank conversation about the costs?
Yeah.
The cost of them losing their independence, the cost of them inviting strangers into their home, the cost of possibly losing their home or moving elsewhere, the cost on like your timetable, your ability to kind of like run between the two every day. Like, there are costs here. I think it's okay to be open about that, but not in a blaming way.
Yeah.
All right. I hope that's been somewhat helpful. Kind of touched on a few things there, a few aspects. I don't know if we've solved this, not dilemma, but we've not given you the answer, what you need to do. You're either doing this or doing that, but it's an invitation for you to have further conversation, thinking about these different aspects.
I know I have a habit of picking it up just as about we're about to end. But I think that's why people don't have the difficult conversations, because it's like, I need to have the answer ready. Whereas I think let this be an organic process for you and your families. And as Vicky's saying, don't go in closed. Let it be open.
Yeah.
Without answers in mind, but knowing change has to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so have those conversations.
Thank you for sending this in. I think that wraps us up nicely for today, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We'll be back next week with more dilemmas.
Remember to like and follow us on our socials.
Yep, and you can also send us your dilemmas at hello@thetherapyfloor.com.
This is Dr. Ritz.
And Dr. Vicky.
And we'll see you on the floor soon.
Bye.
Bye.